Chord progressions make everyone sound the same. If you've ever struggled to write a song that sounds unique on the guitar, then you're in the right place. In this video, I'm going to show you 4 ways to make chord progressions that are distinctive and interesting. These ideas can apply to major and minor keys and be played on acoustic and electric guitars. Let's get started. The first way to make your progressions more unique is by using a surprising chord that will drive your music forward. To show you this in action, let's look at chords in the key of C major. If you take the root note of the 6th chord A minor, drop it by half a step, then construct a dominant 7th chord from this new root, you have an A flat 7 chord. This idea works in any major key, leaving you with a flat 6 dominant 7 chord. This chord works as a strong pull towards the dominant 5 chord. Have a listen to it in this C major key example. So why does this chord work so well in this situation? Let's have a quick look at the notes in the chords. A flat 7 is constructed with the notes A flat, C, E flat and G flat. G major has the notes G, B and D. So the root note of the flat 6, 7 chord and the flat 7th note are either side of the root note of the 5 chord. In this case, A flat and G flat are either side of G. This pincer movement of notes drives us strongly towards the 5 chord. This idea also works in minor key progressions, albeit with a slightly less awkward sound. For example, here are the chords in the key of A minor. You'll see that flat 6 is a diatonic chord, already in the key. So all we have to do is play this as a dominant 7th. In this case, we'd use F7. In minor keys, it is common to also play the 5 chord as a major chord. So this would give us the following progression: F7, E, A minor. Here's how that sounds. The technical term for these sorts of chords is augmented 6th chords, but you don't need to know or understand this to use them. Just remember that you can use a flat 6 dominant 7th chord as a predominant in your progressions. Because it is a dominant 7th chord, this flat 6, 7 works well in blues songs. If you're not familiar with blues chords and structures, then I'll link a video at the end of this one, which will get you up to speed. Here's how it could sound in a 12-bar blues based on the G major key. If you're trying to write songs on the guitar, it can be difficult to make your music sound original and exciting. That's exactly why I send a free weekly newsletter to thousands of guitarists, providing interesting ideas that you can use in your songs straight away. If you want to write better songs with more confidence, head to writeonguitar.com or click the link in the description to sign up today. The next way to make chord progressions that sound more unique is by using another out-of-key chord. This time it's a flat 2 chord. You will most commonly find it played in first inversion, but it doesn't have to be. Once again, this works in both major and minor keys and is also an excellent predominant chord. For example, in the key of G major, the 2 chord is A minor. If we drop the root note by half a step and construct a major chord from this new root, then we have an A flat major chord. Played in first inversion, this would be an A flat / C chord. Here's how that sounds in a simple chord progression used before the 5 sus4 and 5 chords. The flat 2 chord, also known as the Neapolitan 6th, also works well in minor keys. For example, in the key of A minor, it would be B flat / D. Here's how it sounds before the E7 sus4 chord and the major 5 E major. The third way to make chord progressions sound more unique is to use a chord which is widely found in jazz. It's called the tritone substitution. But what does this mean? Well, a tritone is an interval that spans 3 whole tones, or whole steps. Put another way, it's 2 notes which are separated by a distance of 6 half steps. The frets on the guitar visually split strings into half steps, so we can use them to count up a tritone. For example, if you play the B note on the 2nd fret A string, and then count up 6 frets, we end up with the F note on the 8th fret. Here's how that tritone sounds. You can hear how tense this interval is, as it's yearning to be resolved with something more stable. This interval is at the heart of dominant 7th chords, which is part of the reason why these chords are so often used as the 5 chord to resolve with the stable 1 chord in both major and minor keys. So if we're thinking about the C major key, the 5 dominant 7th chord, G7, contains the notes B and F, which we just heard. So there is a tritone present, which wants to resolve to the C major chord. The interesting thing is this exact tritone is also present in another chord, D flat dominant 7th. So you can replace G7 with D flat 7 in C major progressions, and it will retain its power of drawing us towards the 1 chord C major. If you want an easy way to find this chord in any major key, it's just a dominant 7th chord whose root note is a tritone, 6 half steps, away from the root note of the 5 chord. You might also see them notated as flat 5/7/5 because we are building 7th chords off the flatted 5th degree of the 5 chord. To give you a feel for this chord, I'm going to play a 2-5-1 progression twice in the key of C major. First I'll use the 5/7 chord, G7, then I'll substitute it with D flat 7. This common jazz progression is completed by playing the 2 chord as a minor 7th and the 1 chord as a major 7th. Listen out for the smooth descending bass line that this substitution also brings. And now for the fourth way to make your chord progression sound more unique. Take a major or minor chord, then move up or down by a third interval, either a major or minor third. Construct a chord of the same quality, either major or minor, off of this new root, and you have a set of 4 chords which are known as chromatic mediants. So in the key of C major, the 1 chord is C major. A minor third, which is 3 half steps below this, is the A major chord, and a minor third above this is the E flat major chord. Major third intervals span 4 half steps, so this also gives us the A flat major and E major chords. Comparing these chords to the C major key chords, we could give them the labels of major 6, flat 6, flat 3 and major 3. Some of these could be considered as borrowed chords from the parallel minor key, so they will sound familiar. Listen to the spacey intrigue they provide when played against the root chord in this next example. You could also take this idea further and write progressions that go beyond any particular key. For example, if we start on C major and then continually play chromatic mediants of the previous chord, we can end up with something like this. Listen to the cinematic quality that this provides, never resting on a single tonic. These interesting chords can make your progressions stand out, but if you don't know the basics of constructing songs, then they are completely useless. The ultimate song format, and a big influence on rock and pop, is the blues. Watch the video on screen now to learn how this classic sound can help you to write better songs in any genre.